Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for November 28th through the 4th of December 2016. I'm Athen, and this channel is about using the actual constellations in the sky, known as Sidereal Astrology. If you are new, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different, which means your sign might be different, and you'll want to watch this for the right sign. All right, so Sagittarius, this week we have a lot going on, as it has been a very impactful November. And we have a new moon kicking things off on Tuesday. So a time of new beginnings. And for you, I think this has to do with your spiritual side. You'll have the new moon in the 12th house. This is a time to really listen. It's a time to, maybe really with Saturn, take responsibility perhaps for the importance of having receptivity in your life, for getting some alone time, for having that R&R. And that's really what the 12th house is all about. It's the ending, it's the end of the houses, the end of the chart, and it's where we come full circle back to, at the end of the day, peace, right? Where we find peace. And of course, to do that, it does require letting some things go. It does require diving deep within the self to see if there's anything that's preventing us from accepting and being in the present moment, which is where peace is found. And so it does make it an excellent time, and will be for these next 30 days, to not only get the R&R, but to get in touch with yourself spiritually, however you do that. And so for some of you, it might be more active things. There's tons of ways to be present and to relax. It might be athletic things. It might be even work or things like that. But for you personally, what puts you into that state of presence? What helps you relax? What helps you accept? And this is the time to essentially cultivate that. And again, Saturn here has been helping you take this stuff seriously, build it for the long term. And so anything you can do that is a sort of responsibility to, again, let's say, cultivate this spiritual side of yourself, this accepting side, your being, then it's excellent. And I think that's a great way of working with the new moon when it's in tandem with the Saturn, who, again, has already been here helping you establish this greater peace and acceptance in your life. I also want to mention too, the 12th house is very much about psychology. So again, it makes it a great time to see if there's any fears, inhibitions, things that are, again, preventing you from having that acceptance. Now, Mercury is going to be shifting into your first house here around the same time, Tuesday, Wednesday. So you'll likely notice that there's a bit more mental energy, and maybe things aren't as confusing or foggy, because when Mercury's in the 12th, which he was, that can create a bit of the haze, because Mercury's the mind. Mercury does not like the 12th house. He much more prefers the first. In fact, he's very strong here. So this is where your mental aptitudes may be coming back or stronger now. You'll notice this subtly as the week unfolds. And it just makes it a really good time for learning, for even sharing your information with others, maybe through communication, maybe through writing, if some of you are involved with writing or journaling, things like that. But all in all, just good mental aptitude. And so anything around goals, anything around yourself, your independence, you can also be learning quite a bit about. You may notice even too that your relationships and your career may be coming out of a foggier time also. Mercury does rule your 7th and your 10th. So it could be placing an emphasis on those key areas for the coming weeks. Maybe more of the interpersonal relationships, maybe more of the career. And again, I think clarity there and maybe some goals with that can certainly help. Now, Venus will be squaring up to Uranus around the same time. So with Venus in the first, although it has been a great time for you, I think, to be enjoying more of the either luxurious side to life, or maybe it has been about relationships lately. But it's all about enjoyment when Venus is in the first. And maybe even looking good, feeling good. There was a transformation, in fact, with Venus over Pluto last week, where a lot of you, I think, did transform. And maybe particularly with your routine, maybe with your health and diet, maybe with your work. And it's still an excellent time for all that. Venus rules the 6th and the 1st, really putting an emphasis on day-to-day stuff, your routine, your work, and even to your aspirations, and maybe even friends and community stuff as well. So that's continuing. But with the square, if there is anything that feels like it's coming at you, if it's busy, or if you're feeling impulsive or rash, or there's just inner irritability or something like that, it'll take different forms for all of you. But Venus squaring up to Uranus does make it a bit of a tense energy where we're feeling like we want to break free, we want to break through, and and maybe in Pisces escape, want to just not have to deal with it. So the best way of working with this is to give it a bit of space, right? If we are feeling that high energy or the busyness or whatever it is, and step back for a second, be aware of it, and take a centered approach to it without reacting, without rushing into things or making any rash decisions. And in that way, this becomes very constructive. And I think what'll be constructive is, yes, there will be some more freedom. I think it does have to do with you. I think it does have to do with the routine and those aspirations. Okay, those are the key areas involved here. But where Uranus has been transiting is your fourth house, helping you find the freedom of what it's like when you are connected to your emotional body, when you're rooted, when you maybe are just all in all connected with your soul. Because the fourth house, it's the foundation of the charts, the bottom of the chart, has to do with our roots. And the most fundamental root is our soul, if you will. So you might be feeling, and this has again been Uranus already for many years, helping you find the freedom of what it's like when you connect to your soul. And even on an external level, what it's like, freedom of connecting with your family and your home or your past, and even your body, your physical body is also fourth house. So doing that, but in a balanced, grounded, and centered way, I think really is key. And as a result, I think you'll find, yes, there is this rejuvenation. Venus will be sextiling up to Chiron around the same time. Chiron goes direct right after that in the fourth house. So there is this healing, there is this shift. And I think all in all is sort of rejuvenation about the health, about the soul, about the body, and even maybe on an external level, home, family things. But it's a shift as a result of what I think is listening to what it is that is free for you, what it is about individuality, what it is about being your true self that can be done in a healthy and balanced sort of way. So that's essentially the first half of the week. And then right after that, direct with Chiron. Going into the second half, it's very different. The first half is very internal. It's the new moon. It's more receptive. It's all in your 12th house still, of course. But Mars does trine up to Jupiter the second half, which can be very motivating, very inspiring. So even though, again, things are behind the scenes and it's receptive, this trine can really help motivate you. And I think what it's motivating you towards is, I think also those 12th house matters, maybe spirituality, maybe meditation, maybe those types of things. But in the second, this is about your values. And so this is your inner resources and outer resources. So you might be feeling quite confident, or maybe like, yes, you can attain your values in life. Maybe you're just more motivated to attain your values in life. And this could be external, in a sense of finances, outer resources, assets, things like that, saving, investments for some of you. So whatever that is, whatever that inspiration is, use it, because when things are easy like this easy type of aspect, sometimes we'll rest on our laurels. We won't do it. We'll say we'll get to it next week, but this is the type of supportive time where you can find a bit of flow to cultivate those values, to cultivate your alone time, even to express yourself, in fact, because Mars rules your fifth. So creative, maybe, or playful, lighthearted, fun, maybe some positive support for that, maybe some opportunities for that. And, it works the other way too. Mars is trining up to your ruler, Jupiter, who's in the 10th. There's been this overall emphasis this year on your career, on your productive life. And so I think you'll still find opportunities with that. In fact, for some of you, this could be a trigger for some of those opportunities with the productive stuff. But in either case, it's an inspiring time for the productive stuff. I think it's still great to cultivate that. You can find the motivation for that and the drive. And it can be both inspiring and motivating. So it'll be subtle, I think, coming out in this new moon phase. But again, listen to that. And if you're guided to cultivate some of that motivation and inspiration there. Mars is going to be sextiling up to Saturn right after that, really adding to that, which is, again, supporting a bit of the receptive approach and acceptance and transformation. And again, going back into the second house of your values. So all in all, I think this week, Sagittarius, there's definitely a new beginning at the beginning that has to do with this more receptive approach, as it has been, maybe getting some R&R, maybe accepting some things within that will free you up, will help you have that spiritual liberation so you can be at peace and find true happiness. 12th house is about true happiness, which is being. And taking the responsibility for that. And then as Mercury goes into your first house, there is this shift towards more of a mental aptitude, a bit more maybe busier time, relatively speaking, maybe an emphasis on career and your relationships. The square from Venus does emphasize a bit of stepping back if you're feeling a bit of the irritable energy or whatever that is with the square. But yeah, the second half, the most important thing, Mars trining your ruler Jupiter from the 10th house, could give you a bit of support for the career, the future productive stuff, and likewise towards those values of yours. Okay? So Sagittarius, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.